As a retired United States Navy SEAL, he joins us live now. He's also a partner with the Palatory Law Group. Great to have you back with us, Bill.
Great to be on, John. Thank you.
Give us your take. We see the troop buildup continue in the Middle East. It does look like there's some hope that these talks could restart soon. You also have these developments with a 10-day ceasefire between Lebanon and Israel. Which way are things trending right now? Towards more conflict or towards peace?
What President Trump and Secretary of War Pete Hegseth are doing, they're doing exactly what Julius Caesar did 2,000 years ago in the Battle of Elysium. Julius Caesar didn't storm a stronghold of the Gauls. What he did is he cut off their supply lines. That's exactly what the president's doing now. He's cutting out the economic artery. Basically, 90% of their total revenue generated comes through the Persian Gulf. He's squeezing that. He's saving lives, American lives, because he's not putting troops on the ground. He's doing the right thing. He's situated himself so we have the ultimate leverage. We don't have to worry about their speedboats because they have to come out to us and they'll get destroyed. What he's doing is the most tactically sound thing that any military general will tell you that could absolutely be done here. We've already defeated them militarily. Now we're defeating them economically. And so what are the next steps? We put the squeeze economically on them. At the same time, our CIA and other agencies are dividing and conquering inside. And then we have cyber warfare on a whole nother level of dimension. So we are moving towards peace, and actually we're moving to a new and greater world global society where we don't have a jihadist Iranian regime.
Yeah, when you talk about China and where they factor into the equation here, this report of a Chinese satellite being used to target U.S. military installations, obviously Pete Hegseth can't talk about that publicly. Privately, how do you expect the Trump White House and the Pentagon to handle that, if it's true?
Well, we have to be honest. One of the great higher levels of chess that President Trump's playing is he's playing a great long game. So we look at what happened in Venezuela. Now they have a more pro-American kind of administration and a less pro-communist China administration. And you look how the pieces are maneuvering in Iran. This time next year, that'll be the same point with Iran, even probably within the next couple months. So let's talk about China's influence and where their stakes are. They get a lot of cheap crude oil from, guess where? Venezuela and Iran. And now those administrations, Venezuela absolutely more pro-American, and Iran is headed in that direction in the very, very, very near future. So China, their administration absolutely has stakes in it that are adverse to our interests, and that's what's being played out here. We have to be honest. China is our adversary on a global economic platform. They're going to do everything they can to increase and hold on to their interests that are negated. President Trump and Secretary Hegseth, there's no doubt that they love the men and women who serve this country. And there's no doubt they're going to let China know that that cannot happen. They're going to be held accountable.
Yeah, and there's a bigger goal here President Trump is looking towards, and this meeting with Xi is critically important to achieve that, and doesn't want to do anything to mess that up, I'm sure, as well. Going back to the blockade, we have General Dan Kane here talking about the heroic efforts that U.S. forces have done to enforce the blockade. Listen to this.
On that bridge, our sailors maintain a constant watch, maneuvering the ship tactically and safely through always congested water space, and there is a lot out there. It is like driving a sports car through a supermarket parking lot on a payday weekend with thousands of kids in that parking lot. These sailors choose to take the road less traveled to go into the historic surface Navy, and they deliver every single.
You know, when he mentions that about driving a sports car in a crowded parking lot, and then you show the graphic of little green and red arrows moving around, I think that does a pretty good job of demonstrating what it's like out there. Give us your perspective on that, Bill.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, there's no the United States Navy right now and the American Armed Forces are in the best possible position they could ever be. And one of the things that came out in the briefing this morning was only 10% of the Navy is able to enforce this blockade, which results on shutting down 90% of the $109.7 billion of seaborne revenue that Iran, the IRGC, generates. And so absolutely what they're doing is historic, and it's actually well played, because you see the blockade is basically just at the gates of the Strait of Hormuz. And so what happens is the IRGC's military capabilities are severely negated in our favor because they have to come out to more deeper open water. And so the blockade here is a brilliant chess move, because we're not putting troops on the ground, and we're using our technology and our Navy to the maximum advantage, because their Navy is buried underneath the sea of the Persian Gulf.
Yeah, I guess it's mostly just a head game now they're playing with people. I know they have some assets on the shoreline that they could use to target some of these ships. But we hope to see more traffic open up very soon flowing through that area without those ships stopping in Iran. I want to play a clip here for you as well from Admiral Brad Cooper. He spoke about how our military forces are working alongside other Gulf allies.
A little note about partners. My discussion with regional allies and partners, both at the senior civilian level and the senior military level, reinforced our shared commitment to regional security. But beyond that, having now fought together side by side, I assess that our military partnerships are stronger than ever as we continue to maintain a very active defense posture across the region during this ceasefire.
So it sounds like new partnerships are being made as we speak, Bill.
That's right. And let's think about why these partnerships are being made, because it's in the best interest of all Iran's neighboring nations to basically have a regime that's not radical jihadist and bent on the exportation of terror across the globe. And so not only are they helping militarily, but also let's talk about the intelligence they're providing. Let's talk about even the end game that we're looking at now, because we're getting ready to move into a new phase. When you cut off the economic artery into the IRGC, they can no longer pay for their patronage jobs, and it can no longer pay for the support of their terror proxies. They can no longer pay for their military offensive or defensive capabilities. And so they're at the face of economic implosion soon, and they're already military collapse. And so what you're going to have now is a new phase we're entering, where our partners and their intelligence agencies are going to help us divide and conquer via supporting the resistant groups. And if you look over the last couple of days, some IRGC commanders were killed, assassinated by some of these resistance groups. So we're entering a whole new phase. The blockade was a brilliant chess move. It's actually inspired, I believe, by Julius Caesar in the Battle of Alesia. And I commend our president, and I commend Secretary Hegseth. And here's the truth. We've already had a great victory, a huge victory. The IRGC, a jihadist Shia regime with nuclear capabilities, and they before Operation Epic Fury, they had up to 30 submarines. That was a danger to every American, and not just American, to humanity. Now, we're talking about a regime that killed 45,000 of its own people. We're talking about a regime that fired missiles on all its neighbors. We're talking about a regime that was the #1 sponsor of horror. Now, if you go back in time and you say, hey, could we kill Adolf Hitler before the Holocaust? Everybody said that's a great idea, let's do it. You go back in time, and if Bill Clinton had the courage to do the right thing and say, hey, let's kill Osama bin Laden before 9/11. Everybody said that's the right thing. That's exactly what President Trump has done here. He's had the courage to stop a nuclear holocaust, because the IRGC with nuclear capabilities would be a terror, horror travesty for our global society and for America, and that has been averted because of Trump's leadership and courage.
It's unbelievable how easy it is for so many people to forget that very fact, that we did not and cannot tolerate the Iranian regime having nuclear weapons. Bill, great to see you. Thanks so much. Take care.
Thank you, John. An honor.
Well, former